Hey, everybody, Drew Allen here. Welcome to the Drew Allen Show. We're finally back. Your millennial minister of truth reporting for duty. Well, just before I came on here, Matt Gaetz was. I'm not laughing because I have a problem with it. I'm just laughing. Anyway, Matt Gaetz is officially Trump's attorney general pick. And the reason I'm laughing is because I love the reaction from the left. They're positively melting down. I mean, they're having aneurysms over this. And I mean, to be honest, I have not seen the left this riled up, about Matt Gaetz. I haven't seen them that riled up and outraged and panicked since Trump, announced that Tulsi Gabbard was going to be his director of national intelligence, 2 hours before. And of course, before that, I hadn't seen them as riled up or suicidal since Trump named Fox News host Pete Hegseth his Secretary of Defense. Don't you love it, folks? And what I love about it is nobody cares anymore. Like maybe, 2016, this would have mattered. 2016, we would have looked at what the media was saying and questioned his picks and had some doubt, but that's gone. This is a new era, a golden age in American history. And the left doesn't have any power. The Democrat Party doesn't have any power. And all their attacks that they're continuing to wage against Trump in the media and on social media and whatever else from the mouths of the vipers themselves in the Democrat Party. I mean, it's the same thing that they've said about his policies, about his personality, about his past, about whatever on the campaign trail. And they lost. So obviously the American people have tuned out the media. They don't care what the Democrat Party's talking points are anymore. And that's what makes this so sweet, folks. It is a great time to be an American. It really is in our history. I can't say it enough. But anyway, I'll get into that later, the left's responses to Pete Hegseth and Tulsi Gabbard and Matt Gaetz now as well. But first, we've got to do a little bit of a crap sandwich here because there was also some not so good news, in my opinion, and probably it's an opinion that many of you share, a feeling you have, which is this. We, the people, right? MAGA, this coalition that is looking to restore power to the people. Well, we just gave the Republicans in the Senate a majority, a pretty good majority, too. It should have been bigger. I think some shenanigans went on, but nonetheless, 53, that's a good majority. So we gave the Republicans in the Senate a majority. And what did these Republican senators do to thank us? They said, F you. F you. That's what they did. The establishment said F you. We gave them the majority. We showed up. We put them in there. We gave them power. And they said F you. That's what this vote was about Thune. Unbelievable. I mean, but before I get into that, let me just say this. Do you know how like if you don't know anything about politics, right? If you're just, just getting involved, a good way to determine whether or not a Trump action or an appointee is good is based on the left's reaction. So it's a direct correlation. The more the left complains, the more insane their cries are, the more they hate something or someone that Trump appoints in this case, the better it is for you and me and America. You can take that to the bank. And so the bigger the aneurysm, the better it is for America. And so, they love Adam Kinzinger, right? They love Liz Cheney. These people are wonderful, right? So we know that they suck. And the left seems to think that Thune is a pretty good pick too, which tells you that he probably sucks. Now, this is not going to be some spiral of despondency and depression. This is not the end of the world, but it is something to watch for. And there's a lesson in this, and it's not good. It's not great. I'm not going to sit here and blow sunshine. I mean, we have a lot of things to celebrate, and we still are celebrating, and we're in a good position right now. But, this is something that sucks. It sucks. And it's a middle finger to you and me and the American people from the RINOs in the Senate. So they did a secret ballot with this, right? And this, you have to remember, this should, you should have a little bit of PTSD from what they did here, because this happened actually almost exactly a year ago in October. Remember when we got rid of what was his name? Speaker of the House. Oh my gosh. Anyway, whatever. We got rid of that guy, and we wanted Jim Jordan. And they had a secret ballot so that we wouldn't know who opposed Jim Jordan. Remember that happening? That happened about a year ago. And we learned something about that. You know, we had a majority in the House. And, you know, they had this private meeting on a Friday, and 122 members of the GOP conference voted to remove Jim Jordan from the ballot. Only 86 voted to keep him as their nominee and speaker designate. So, you know, that tells you right there. You had 122 members of the GOP that voted against him, and that's how many problems you have. That's how many people that don't care about what the American people wanted. And that was the conservative choice, but they decided otherwise. So when they get in there, they don't really view themselves as serving the people. They serve the government. And this is an issue we have to deal with. So they did the same thing with Thune here. And it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. You know who supported Thune, though, right? Senator from South Dakota. You know who supported him? These names ought to ring a bell. They ought to be on your list somewhere in your mind of losers that we need to get rid of at some point. Tom Cotton. Yeah, I've warned for a long time this Tom Cotton guy. This guy is a wolf in sheep's clothing. But he's from Arkansas. You've got James Lankford. James Lankford of Oklahoma, you might recall, is the guy that went on CNN and trashed Republicans and trashed MAGA and trashed Donald Trump because he was trying to push through the amnesty bill. Right, that last-minute bill that Democrats, that bipartisan bill, you know, the borders are Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, they let in, 20 million people into this country illegally. And then as the election approached, they said, oh, we need a talking point. We need a cover. We need something like the Inflation Reduction Act, right? It's going to, help us push our agenda that the American people don't want forward, but we will pull the wool over their eyes because we'll call it the Inflation Reduction Act. Now, it won't have anything to do with inflation, mind you. It won't address inflation at all. In fact, it will exacerbate inflation, but we're calling it the Inflation Reduction Act. And they can't be against that, even though it just pushes the Green New Deal and puts us further in debt. $6 billion or whatever it was for charging stations. So this is what they did here. They're whatever the border security, whatever it was. But it was amnesty for illegal aliens. And it was a way for Democrats to try and get a talking point in the election that said, look, we tried to secure the border and Republicans opposed it. Trump opposed it. See, ha, ha, ha. We think you're idiots. But that's the bill that, James Lankford not only supported, but went out and lied through his teeth on CNN and other left-wing networks to the American people about how great it was. So these are the people that back Thune. So obviously, you can tell a lot about a person by the company they keep. And Thune is not only supported by these losers in the Senate, but he's also, a McConnell acolyte. He was McConnell's assistant, effectively. I mean, he's been serving as the whip, the minority whip, but that's McConnell's whip. And that's where he comes from. Tim Scott was another person that supported Thune as well. And I've never liked Tim Scott. To be honest, he gets a pass by a lot of people because he's a black Republican. That's the truth. But he's always been an establishment guy. Tim Scott is not somebody that is solid and can be counted on. And there you have the proof yet again, if you needed another example of it. Tim Scott supported Thune, okay, over Rick Scott. Now, I wasn't even wild about Rick Scott, but he was, compared to the other two options and challengers, Cornyn from Texas and Thune from South Dakota. Tim Scott might as well have been, not Tim Scott, Rick Scott might as well have been, Donald Trump when you're putting him up against those two guys. And I don't hate Rick Scott or anything like that, but the simple point is he was obviously the favored choice of the MAGA movement. And it was the MAGA movement that gave these Republican senators a majority again. And it was this same Republican majority that said, we don't care that you want Rick Scott. We're going to give you Thune, who is McConnell's assistant. And that is not what the American people made clear with their votes and their voices just last week. That's, in fact, the antithesis of the message. But again, it's the same thing that happened in the House with McCarthy, by the way, is the name I was searching for before. Speaker McCarthy, right? He was ousted. He didn't live up to his end of the deal. Matt Gaetz was instrumental in getting rid of him. Matt Gaetz, who's going to be Attorney General potentially here. But anyway, so, you know, that's what happened in the House. We're going to have a secret ballot. We're not even going to, we know, and the reason they do a secret ballot is because they know they're misbehaving. They know they're doing something that they shouldn't be doing. They know they're doing something against the constituents' will. Otherwise, they'd have a public ballot in which they would put their names and let you know exactly who they were. They'd be proud to support Thune. They'd be proud to vote against Rick Scott and let you know it. But they had a secret ballot so that you wouldn't know who they were. So this is not great. But this is just, you know, the continuation of a long war that we've been engaged in the Republican Party. And it's existed, I mean, since Reagan at least. I mean, that's my study and knowledge of it. You know, the Republican Party, you have to remember, there was a schism back then, similar to now. You had Reagan, who represented, you know, the Reagan conservative. He built this coalition, you know, won 49 states. But even though he was victorious, even though he was the best thing the Republican Party had, one of the best candidates, one of the best, most popular in history, in American history, you still had a wing of the Republican Party that didn't like conservatism. They were RINOs. They were, you know, deep staters, if you want to call them that, even back then. And so what did they do? They said openly, we cannot wait until Reagan's gone because there will be no natural place for you, conservatives, in the Republican Party. That's a threat they leveled at us. That's back in the 80s, folks. And this continues today. McConnell represents that. Thune represents that. All these establishment types are still around. And Trump is the newest Reagan, and he is strengthening conservatism, and they hate it. They hate it. They don't really want to fight these people, right? They don't really have any fight in them. They want to pretend to fight, but really they just want to go out to eat and hang out with their buddies that are Democrats. And they don't care about the consequences of the legislation or the deterioration of the country that happens as a consequence. It's not affecting them. You understand? So this is who these people are. As long as they're set up for success. So these are deeply selfish people. They're not public servants. So that's what we're dealing with. So in one sense, though, it's good that this is happening because you need to be acutely aware that it's happening. You know, we had a big awakening that happened over the last 4 years. Since 2016, really, with Trump-Russia collusion and quid pro quo, and then the COVID lockdowns. And we learned who the enemy was, how dangerous they were. We knew a lot of their names. We learned who they were and what they were about. And we became aware of the corruption in our government. And that's what this is about. The appointments of DOGE, the creation of DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency led by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. You know, these are the results of our awakening. And Trump has come out, and it's a very promising agenda. And the only thing that's going to hurt and destroy the Republican Party at this point is Republicans in Congress. And I just want to reiterate again, this is the chance of a lifetime. This is, you know, yes, it's amazing that we won this election, but it can go either way. You know, what we do over these next 4 years is really going to determine whether America survives or dies. Because if Republicans prevent Trump from passing his agenda, if they block him, if they fight him, and thus the American people, and we do not see the results of this administration and these promises, well, the Democrat Party is going to go back right to where it was. It's going to increase in popularity again, and we're going to go back to the same fight we've had. And it's a dangerous fight because they represent something that is anti-American. They want to destroy the country. They want to take away our freedom. They do want to reduce us to a tyranny and make us their slaves. Conservatism, not RINOs, not republicanism per se, but MAGA, what that represents is constitutionalism. It is about taking back our country and thriving for generations to come. But if Americans, you know, who put everything they had into this election and finally became politically active, who didn't believe that they could even have an influence on their government anymore. These people showed up to save the country. And if that's squandered because of these RINOs and establishment types in Congress, then hope is going to be gone. The movement's going to die. So if we do the agenda, the Democrat Party dies. And if we don't pass the agenda, the Republican Party is going to die. Those are the options. Those are the stakes of, yes, we talked about the stakes of the election. Now we're talking about the stakes of this presidency. All right, attention parents. I've got an early Christmas gift for you. We've been there. 1 minute, your kiddo's bouncing off the walls. An hour later, they're super sick. You feel helpless. It can turn your plans upside down, especially on vacation. And after thousands of customer requests, the wellness company has launched the Kids Medical Emergency Kit. You no longer have to deal with emergency illnesses in panic mode. Now you can have 6 critical medications at your fingertips to treat 20 plus illnesses for issues like strep throat, ear infections, lice, respiratory illnesses, avoiding urgent care hospitals. And the Kids Emergency Kit has been hand-selected by the wellness company's medical board, and it includes chewable amoxicillin, dissolvable ivermectin, an optional EpiPen, and more. And it includes a detailed guidebook which will guide you step by step if you experience these emergencies. And ordering the kit is simple. Only parents can order for their children. You fill out an intake form and you'll get a verification call for consent. And then it's delivered to your door. It's that easy. Don't wait until you're in the middle of a crisis. Avoid those late night urgent care runs. Order your kids' emergency kit today and remove panic from your life. And if 1 or 2 of the scripts run out, there's a replenishment option as well. Okay, so go to dailyclouthealth.com and grab your kids' emergency kit right now. Use code Drew Allen to save up to $40 at checkout. And these kits are only available in the USA. So dailyclouthealth.com, use code Drew Allen to save up to $40 at checkout. So anyway, so this is what we're dealing with. Now, John Thune, just who he is. I mean, look, I'm hoping for the best. John Thune is saying, he gave his acceptance speech or whatever he said, that they have a mandate for the American people. And that's right. They do have a mandate for the American people. And let's hope he stands by it. But, Rick Scott didn't even have a chance, folks. He was out in the first vote. And then it was between 2 RINOs, Cornyn and Thune. And just to give you an idea about Thune, back in an October 20th CNN interview, Republican South Dakota Senator John Thune criticized the president's reelection campaign, saying, "Stay away from personal attacks, quit attacking the media, quit attacking Fauci, and focus on issues." By October 20, I mean like 2020. Anyway, that was his advice. That's how you're going to win over the middle people. So you see, Thune has no idea how to actually win. And if it were up to him, we would have lost this election and every election, actually. Stay away from personal attacks. Quit attacking the media. Quit attacking Fauci and focus on issues. Well, you can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. And this election was about vindication. It was about justice. And it was about attacking these people because we've been attacked for 4 years in an unprecedented fashion. And Thune here, I mean, can you imagine if Trump took his advice? Okay, I'm Donald Trump. I'm not going to make any personal attacks. I'm not going to attack the media. I'm not going to attack any of my opponents out there and talk about them. But this is John Thune's, senator from South Dakota. This is his advice. The point is Thune and these people don't have courage. Now, hopefully, Donald Trump has enough courage to instill them with some of that, because these people have none. They're absolute cowards. They just want to go along to get along. They don't want to be attacked by the media, and that's the problem. Trump doesn't care, and the American people don't care anymore. But anyway, let's talk about how Trump is doing so far. I mean, the left's predictable and humiliating reactions are a joy and entertainment for me. I just want to play one because it pretty much captures all the reactions. They're all the same. But here's Joy Reid responding to Pete Hegseth.
The former and future president is moving quickly to fill the clown car and round out his cabinet before he changes his mind and fires them all. Moments ago, Trump announced that he has selected Fox Weekend morning show host, you can't make this up, Pete Hegseth, to serve as Secretary of Defense, because why not?
Now, this is what these people do. It's so disgusting and disgraceful. I mean, they're sitting here telling you he's a Fox News host. A Fox News host was, is going to be appointed the Secretary of Defense. Like, that's humiliating. Yeah, he's a Fox News host now. But, Pete Hegseth is a combat veteran. He's got, 2 Bronze Stars. He's a graduate of Princeton and Harvard. His degree from Harvard, advanced degree, has to do with, is from the Kennedy Center of Government. So it's related to public policy. I mean, I guess in these guys' minds, in their mind, if Trump was really serious, right? If Trump really was a serious president that was going to make serious appointments, he would pick some gay dude from a small town in Indiana, who was the mayor of a town of 100,000 and make him the Secretary of Transportation. I guess that's it, right? So if Trump was serious, that's what he'd do. He'd hire a mayor from a small town in Indiana and appoint him to the Secretary of Transportation. I'm talking about Pete Buttigieg, obviously. These are these picks. That's why these people are such a joke. But Joy Reid, she's not going to have a job much longer. I don't know if you saw this stuff. I'll get into it later, but I mean, they have MSNBC is going to be sold. CNN is slashing jobs. They've lost about 50% of their audience since the election coverage. I mean, this is what I mean. This is what's glorious. They can talk all day and they can say the same nonsense all day. They can badmouth Pete Hegseth and the usual suspects, your friends that you have on Facebook that are lunatics, that don't have brain cells left, that are still, sycophants and Democrat robots out there that, haven't recognized truth in maybe their whole life, but certainly over the last 8 years. Well, these people are going to be repeating this. Pete Hegseth, it's so funny. Pete Hegseth. But we don't care. It's hilarious. Please keep crying more because we won the popular vote and we won the Electoral College and we have a mandate and we're going to do what we want. And by the way, let's look at Biden's picks. How wonderful were Joe Biden's cabinet picks or Barack Obama's before that? I mean, one of my favorites is you've actually got Elizabeth Warren. She's really upset about Pete Hegseth being named the Secretary of Defense. And by the way, these appointments haven't happened yet. They'll either be voted on in the Senate and approved, or they'll be recess appointments. And I'll explain to you what that means a little bit later. But here is Elizabeth Warren, right? Pocahontas. This is a woman who lied about being a Native American to get ahead for her entire life. I mean, I am more Native American than Elizabeth Warren, because I have some relative, and it might not even be true. What's her name? See, this is how close I am to my Native American heritage. It's the same ancestor that I share with Elvis Presley, as a matter of fact. But anyway, my mother did do a one of those tests. And it does show that we are Native American, but it just says generically Native American. It doesn't specify tribe or anything like that. But anyway, this is Elizabeth Warren. Now listen to Elizabeth Warren. So here's her tweet. A Fox and Friends weekend co-host is not qualified to be the Secretary of Defense. I lead, she says, the Senate Military Personnel Panel. All 3 of my brothers served in uniform. I respect every one of our service. So hold on. Are you picking that up? Not only is Pocahontas a fraud, but she seems to be attacking and saying that Pete Hegseth is not qualified on the basis that he's a Fox News host, even though he has 2 Bronze Stars, did multiple tours of duty overseas in the Middle East. He's a combat veteran. He wrote a book about the Pentagon and the woke military and how it's destroying our military and making us weak. So he is a military veteran. This person, Pocahontas, is not only not Native American, but she's also never served in the military. But she has 3 brothers who served in uniform, so she's adjacent to the military because her brothers served in uniform, and somehow that makes her qualified to sit and lead the Senate Military Personnel Panel. Excuse me, Elizabeth Warren needs to step down right now because she is not qualified to be the leader of the Senate Military Personnel Panel. What does she know about the military? She has 3 brothers who served in uniform. Yes, and you're also Native American. But I mean, this is just Kamala Harris level stupidity. You know, Kamala Harris, I'm qualified to be president because I was vice president, but was completely inconsequential to this administration. it's like, you know, I'm so glad that she's done. She's done. I've heard rumors they might try and run her for governor in California. I guess if Gavin Newsom becomes their next nominee, I mean, can you imagine if the Californians are probably, and I live in California, they probably are stupid enough to elect her governor here because they were stupid enough to vote for Adam Schiff for senator. Oh, man. Anyway, so other headlines, you know, Donald Trump's pick will make us less safe and must be rejected. Now, let's look at some of the people that were in Joe Biden's, government here. Here is Admiral Rachel Levine. She was the Assistant Secretary for Health. Now, if you're looking at this picture and you keep saying she, Drew, that's obviously a man. Well, you're right. You're right. This is a man who dressed up like a woman and is the Assistant Secretary for Health. So a mentally ill person, Rachel Levine, who dresses like a woman, is in charge of our health. This is at the Health and Human Services. So that's a great pick. I already told you about Pete Buttigieg, right? Mayor of a town of 100,000 people. Suddenly, he's qualified to be the Secretary of Transport. And we know what that looks like because it's been a disaster. It's been a disaster. So anyway, you know, I mean, I could go through more. You know, you got Mayorkas, who allowed illegal immigrants, aliens, to come into this country and lied about it being secure. You've got, you know, Lloyd Austin, who was the Secretary of Defense, the African-American gentleman who went MIA, AWOL, on the job, right? He was in the hospital, hospitalized, and he didn't tell anybody. He didn't think. This guy, you know, they're saying this job is so important, Secretary of Defense, and it is. It's so important that Pete Hegseth just doesn't have the bona fides to do this job. It's a joke because he's a Fox News. So, well, their choice, Lloyd Austin, who was a general, he was so qualified that, and the job was so important to him in running the country and the military and so on and so forth and our national security, that he didn't think to inform anybody, including the President of the United States, his boss, when he went to the hospital and was incapacitated while they were doing whatever they were doing to him. So there's just no Secretary of Defense. None on duty. No one was told about it. That's this guy. That's how responsible he is. So anyway, I just don't want to, you know, here's Hegseth, right? The left is of course predictably globbing on to this talking point because he doesn't think that women should be in combat roles. Now, a couple of things, you might disagree with that. I doubt most of you do. I'm married. I have a daughter, another one on the way. I don't really care if a woman says she wants to go into combat roles. I don't want to go onto a battlefield as a man and watch women shot around me. I don't want it to happen. And furthermore, there's obviously practical elements and reasons that shouldn't take place. And there's practical reasons it hasn't taken place historically because men are stronger. And we are different biologically, and we were built for war. And even war that we see and are capable of seeing or whatever you want to say, we come back with PTSD as well because it's brutal. And we cherish our women, and that's why we don't want them in combat roles. I'm sorry. You know, if it's a male army, you know, going against a female army, who's going to win? That's not to say that women can't be in the military, and that's not what Pete Hegseth is saying either. But, you know, the point is, what's great about Pete Hegseth is he's not like Kamala Harris, who gets asked a question that she knows is going to have some, pushback on, that her answer is not necessarily going to be the most popular with everyone, and she deflects. She doesn't even answer the question. Pete Hegseth is so confident that he doesn't back down. He simply answers the question. Listen to this.
I'm straight up just saying we should not have women in combat roles. It hasn't made us more effective, hasn't made us more lethal, has made fighting more complicated. We've all served with women, and they're great. Mm-hmm. Our institutions don't have to incentivize that in places where not traditionally, over human history, men in those positions are more capable.
I mean, that is a perfectly sound response. And I agree with it wholeheartedly, as a matter of fact. Notice he says, we shouldn't be building a structure or whatever that incentivizes it. That's exactly right. We shouldn't be incentivizing any of these things. We shouldn't be trying to get more women to go into combat roles, even if they exist. It doesn't make our military stronger. And frankly, men aren't going to want to sit there and watch women get shot. I mean, it's a liability. I mean, as a man, when you're going into combat, and of course, I've never served, but as a man, I can understand the mentality because I know how I feel about women. I'm married. I have, like I said, the daughters, and I love them so much. I would not want women getting shot around me. I would be distracted. I would be actually not focused on my job ahead because, look, if you're going into combat with a bunch of men, you're focused on your goal. Whatever. If you're charging, if it's D-Day and you're storming the beaches of Normandy, yeah, you don't want your fellow men to die around you, but you're not thinking about that. You're thinking about yourself and the target ahead, survival. If there's a bunch of women around you, as men, real men, it is ingrained in our brains to care for and protect women. And so if you're storming the beaches of Normandy surrounded by women in your units, you're going to be distracted because you're going to be trying to, you're worried about them getting shot. Because you can't tolerate it. But you can tolerate a man being shot next to you. So anyway, that's just real talk for people. Some people don't like real talk, but on this show, that's all you get, real talk. Let's just keep having a little celebration, though. Here is your new CIA director, John Ratcliffe. Listen to this exchange. Remember Peter Strzok? Remember this guy? He was instrumental in the Trump-Russia collusion hoax, and he worked for the FBI, high level. He actually was one of the people that entrapped Flynn. And he had all these text messages. He was having an affair with his coworker. What's her name? Peter Strzok. Lisa Page was her name. Both worked for the FBI. And on their government phones, they're supposed to be nonpartisan, right? You're the FBI, just like the Secret Service, nonpartisan. But on their messages to one another, tens of thousands of messages, they talked about how much they hated Trump. They talked about how they had a contingency plan. So these are dishonorable individuals that are conspiring effectively to commit treason. But anyway, that's the context here. Listen to this John Ratcliffe exchange with Peter Strzok.
The approximately 50,000 text messages that I've seen with your personal beliefs like F Trump, stop Trump, impeach Trump, go ahead and confirm on the record that none of that occurred on an official FBI device or on official FBI time. Go ahead and do that.
Sir, no, they did. Many of them did.
Oh, they did. Okay, so
50,000, sir.
So really, no, I'll give you a chance at the end. So what you really meant to say was that when you said you never crossed that bright, inviolable line, what you meant to say was, except for 50,000 times, except for hundreds of times a day where I went back and forth, expressing my personal opinions about effing Trump and stopping Trump and impeaching Trump on official FBI phones, on official FBI time. Other than that, you never crossed that line. I'm sure there are 13,000 FBI agents out there that are beaming with pride at how clearly you've drawn that line. Agent Strzok, are you starting to understand why some folks out there don't believe a word you say, and why it's especially troubling that you, of all people, are at the center of the 3 highest profile investigations in recent times that involve President Trump, and that you were in charge of an investigation investigating, gathering evidence against Donald Trump, a subject that you hated, that you wanted to F him, to stop him, to impeach him? And do you see why that might call into question everything you've touched on all of those investigations? Chairman, I'm done with this witness, and I yield back.
Oh, was that not beautiful to see? And if you were just listening, you couldn't see the smug expression on Peter Strzok's face. And that is the expression that is from the media, from Joy Reid, these elites who think that they just always know what's best. They cannot tolerate criticism because they are above you. They are better than you. And Peter Strzok sits there with his face looking into the sky, his nose pointed upwards. He's just disgusted by the fact that he has to sit there and be questioned by these people. And what we've promised to do is put all these people in their place. All of you people are going to answer to us because you work for us. We're your boss. It's not the other way. It's not the other way around. And that's how we've been treated. And that's the revolution we're experiencing right now in America. We're done with it. We are reasserting our role in this country. We are reestablishing the relationship that is set in our Constitution. We are master, you are servant. But they have had it flipped for so long, and they're unaccountable. Nothing ever happens to them. You can look at Hillary Clinton. You can look at Barack Obama. You can look at even Joe Biden. I mean, he's just going to ride off into the sunset, I guess, over his corruption and his dealings. And we're tired of it. We're tired of it. And we're tired of being abused ourselves by these politicians with policies that hurt us, with policies that help our enemies, with policies that, of course, are crooked deals intended to enrich the politician at our expense. We're done with it. We've had enough. They create an economy that is devastating for the American citizen. With COVID, they put us out of jobs. They destroyed our economy. They told you to suck it up because it was for the good of the country and your fellow man. But they scream bloody murder if they lose their jobs at the government. And of course, the bigger the government is, the worse it is for you because we pay for it all. So government has to shrink. It has to be reduced. It has to be torn to shreds because there's waste. And it doesn't matter. I'm sorry if you're a government employee and you're not going to have a job. You'll find a new one. It's like the Democrats told us, you'll just have to get retrained. You can become programmers or something like that. That's the attitude. That's the attitude. You might notice, though, by the way, a bunch of these appointees that are being named are senators or congressmen from Florida. Just something I observed. I mean, you've got Gates. He's a Florida congressman. He's in the House. You've got Marco Rubio. Who's going to be Secretary of State. He's a senator from Florida. And who else? Mike Waltz. Mike Waltz, who's going to be in an advisory role. Do I have it? What is he going to be? National Security Advisor, I think. National Security Advisor. That's what Mike Waltz. But he's a congressman from Florida, too. And you've got to think about, I think that there's a couple of reasons this is happening. Florida is the most reliable conservative state that we have in this country right now. You look at Texas, they put forward people like Senator Cornyn. Even South Dakota gives you Thune as a senator. These are not conservatives. They're not reliable. They're not MAGA. But DeSantis is reliable. DeSantis has done a phenomenal job in Florida. And he will appoint people who will push forward the American agenda, which is the MAGA agenda. And so I think one of the reasons you're seeing some of these picks come from Florida is because, you're going to make a lot of these appointments that are going to come out of the House and Senate. And so what you don't want to do is, pick a swing state or something, right? Where it's a contested, highly contested state, where it's kind of purplish, right? You might lose a seat. So you don't want to appoint somebody from one of these swing states, and then you have, the governor of the state appoint somebody, temporarily to replace that person that's not reliable or trustworthy. And you certainly don't want to go and have a special election, which would take place, and give the Democrats a chance to take that seat for themselves and lose your majority. So that's one of the reasons you're seeing this strategically, I think, these people being picked from Florida. Because there's no risk of that. There's no risk of losing that seat to a Democrat. There's no risk of losing that seat to a RINO because you've got DeSantis and Florida voters who are the most conservative in America in many ways. Even Oklahoma. That's the reddest state we have, I think. I don't think there was a single county that went for Kamala Harris. But you look at that, and they gave us Langford. Whatever. That's another conversation. That the reddest states we have, many of them give us the worst candidates. That needs to stop. But, just to come back to this Thune thing and everything else, what you have to realize is you can't just pay attention to presidential elections. We've got to stay involved, stay engaged, and we've got to treat these Senate and House races, and your local ones too, but we've got to treat the Senate and House races with the same seriousness that you just treated the presidential election. You've got to show up, and you've got to have a say in who your candidate is. You've got to select that person and select the best person we can that's going to push forward the MAGA agenda. If you don't, you're going to have what happened in 2016 and after 2017 when they held up his agenda and they blocked him. Republicans were to blame. So anyway, by the way, I got to say this. I am going to pat myself on the back because I'm really proud of this. I was talking to AJ Rice, who is the president, CEO of Publius, and I'm his VP, with a publicity thing. But, 4 of our clients so far have been named, appointed in this administration. Hegseth, Publius has done that book. Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence, that was a client. Vivek, client. Doge, and Michael Waltz, National Security Advisor. So we did a lot of their books, PR for them. So, I'll say this about Michael Waltz. He's hard on China, and that's what we need. See, we need people who recognize that China is the greatest threat we face, not MAGA supporters. We need to be realistic about our adversaries and what they represent in terms of a threat to our way of life and our future. And it's China, China, China all the way. It's our only real nemesis and rival. No one else even comes close. They're the only ones that are putting themselves in a position, also helped along by the fact that we're destroying our own place in the world intentionally with DEI and wokeness and all that. But they're the threat. And this is one of the problems with, they talk about Hegseth. These people aren't qualified, whatever else. Hegseth recognizes, of course, that wokeness is destroying our military. That's a step in the right direction. And that's reason enough that he's qualified over Lloyd Austin. All these people have destroyed our military. And Lloyd Austin, by the way, he had experience in the Middle East, but he didn't have any interest in China. He didn't think twice about China. And that was a big flaw in Lloyd Austin. All these generals, Mark Milley is a China sympathizer. Mark Milley, who was the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, he's a China appeaser. He's the guy who called his Chinese counterpart when Trump was president and said he'd tip the Chinese off if America made a move on China. Think about that. There's a name for that, by the way. It's called treason. But these are the people in the Biden administration. So I don't want to hear a peep out of anybody who has a problem with these. And I'm not going to, some people aren't super excited about Rubio. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's really not. I mean, if you look at the rest of his picks and it's, the left is having conniptions over it. I'm not going to sit here and pick apart Rubio. We'll see. But I mean, overall, this is amazing. This is amazing. And I'm not going to tear ourselves apart yet when it's this good. And based off of the left's reaction, this is like the most amazing thing to happen in America in my lifetime. So, all that's important. And we'll see. I don't know. We are not inheriting a good economy, folks. There's a chance that things get really rocky and really bad once Trump is inaugurated, not because of his policies, because they won't have been implemented yet, but because that's what he's been given. And we might have to fight through it. And Democrats are hoping for a crash, by the way. They really are. But anyway, but that's something to be conscious of. Which gets me to my point. For those of us holding our breath for the past several months, we can exhale. Work can finally be done on the major issues this country is facing, one of the most significant being our national debt. The fact is, our nation is broke, and that debt is a house of cards that can't quickly be dismantled. So the strategy remains the same. Diversify your savings. That's why I buy gold from Birch Gold. So many things are out of our control, out of our president's control. It's important to have a safe haven for your savings. Birch Gold Group, my gold company, will help you convert an IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold. And the best news, it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. Text Daily Clout to 989898 to get your free info kit. Plus, right now through Black Friday, you'll receive a free 1-ounce Silver Eagle for every $5,000 purchased. Protect your savings with Birch Gold. Text Daily Clout to 989898 and claim your eligibility for free silver today. But speaking of debt, you may have seen this, but the Democrats outspent the Harris campaign, and the Democrat Party outspent Trump and the Republicans by almost 3 times or more. They spent $1 billion on to lose this race. And Trump spent something like $300 million. I don't remember the exact figure, but it was somewhere in that range. And the Harris campaign's in debt. They're $20 million in debt. And you might have heard this on TV already, but I haven't talked about it. And it's astonishing to me. I mean, you can find that $20 million in debt in just the money paid to the celebrities. There was nothing real or authentic about this Harris campaign. That's what's so astonishing. I mean, she wasn't real, obviously, but it was all fabricated. These celebrities had to be. Think about this. Trump's Hitler. He talks like Stalin, Hitler, and Mussolini. He's a Nazi. He's a threat to democracy. We're not going to survive if he is reelected. So these were the stakes that were presented from the left to their voters. And with those stakes, you couldn't even get these fake frauds on the left that were superstars and celebrities to show up and campaign for free. They were so worried about Donald Trump that they needed to get paid to show up for the gig. And, Megan Thee Stallion, $5 million. $10 million to Beyonce. And think about this. These are the richest people in America. Beyonce, what is she married to? Jay-Z, is that right? Together, they're worth probably close to $1 billion, if not. Jay-Z might be a billionaire. I don't know, but he's close to it. So Beyonce, she can't even go and show up and she didn't even dance or perform. She just gave a speech. I'm a mom, and I'm here to support infanticide, chopping off my daughter's boobies. I'm here to support an open border and the rape of my daughter as a mother. That's what I'm here for. I mean, that's what she went up there to say. And they paid her $10 million. $2.3 million to Lizzo, $1.8 million to Eminem, and $1 million, by the way, to Oprah. Now, Oprah is denying this. Oprah was the wealthiest person, I believe. I don't know about Mark Cuban, how they compare, but they're both billionaires. But she's one of the wealthiest people in the world. She's a billionaire. And she wouldn't even do it for free. And she's denying it. Oprah's out there saying, they didn't pay me. Yes, they did. This is the type of person Oprah is. Oprah is such a strong supporter of Kamala Harris that she wouldn't, on her own dime, or without even being paid a substantial $1 million fee, wouldn't go out and campaign for Kamala Harris. So they had to buy all of these people off. And I got the receipts right here for Oprah. So Oprah is a fraud. She has no character whatsoever. Whatever you thought of Oprah in the past, enjoying her show or whatever else, this is who she is. She's a liar and a fraud. And here's the receipts. I'll pull this up if you're watching. Oh, look, 2 payments, right? Because it's public record. Here's 2 payments. Harris for President made 2 payments to Harpo Productions, that is Oprah's company. 2 payments of $500,000, which is $1 million. So they're the receipts. But Oprah's still denying it, saying she didn't get paid. But we can look there, right there. 2 $500,000 payments to a billionaire to campaign for Kamala Harris. Man, the Democrat Party's a disgrace. Man, they're a joke. Man, they're dying on the vine. I'm excited about that. And meanwhile, by the way, Democrats are so upset that they're mad that Elon Musk dared to support. See, the Democrats cannot tolerate a level playing field. It doesn't surprise me when I think about this. It doesn't surprise me that Democrats actually support biological men competing against biological women in sports because they don't like an equal playing field. They like things rigged. And here's a little Robert Reich. He sent this tweet out. So the richest man in the world spent $130 million to elect Donald Trump. Now he's being put in charge of a government efficiency agency while controlling corporations with billions in government contracts that are also under federal investigations. See how this works? 130 million. Has this guy not heard of George Soros? Has this guy not heard of Mark Zuckerberg in 2020? You see, they love it when it helps them. But we've got a guy who is an ally, who's a billionaire, whose impact was big. Not just for the free speech platform, which isn't a free speech platform for me, by the way. I got booted off of Twitter, X, for doing nothing. Doing nothing. I mean, I got to be honest with you. And this isn't an attack on Elon Musk. And unfortunately, I'm not famous enough for anyone to pay attention over there at X, or Elon Musk certainly to get his attention. But I've been booted from X far more times since he's bought it than I ever was when the commies owned it. And I got booted because, there's a guy on there that says F Trump constantly. He was celebrating Trump being persecuted, was, calling for him to be put in prison, and so on and so forth. All kinds of kind of violent rhetoric. But free speech didn't bother. I mean, it was sick and disgusting, but whatever. He can do it. And so knowing all this in his history and what he's put out there about Trump and J6 protesters and the like, what he wished upon them, I said something to the effect of, hope the new DOJ doesn't put you in the gulags. And that got me booted from Twitter for like 7 days. I mean, I can't deal. It's so frustrating, folks, but whatever. I mean, I'm not here to complain about that. It's a waste of your time. I just venting because you're family. We've been talking for a long time, and that's what happened. And I'm so irritated because actually I do like X in the sense that, one, I use it to like things, and yeah, I do gather news from there, but also I post things too. And it was amazing because I had posted something just that was tongue in cheek and funny about, the attacks on Pete Hegseth compared to, Pete Buttigieg, and I think it got like 2,000 likes. And, I mean, I don't get my sense of self-worth from it, but the point of social media is to grow and have an audience. And so I get like the biggest, tweet X thing I've ever had. And 10 minutes later, I get booted off for a week. It's crazy. Crazy. But anyway, let's just continue to celebrate for a second. Here's Tom Homan, the new border czar. Listen to this guy. I love what's happening.
Some of these Democratic governors say they're going to stand in the way. They're going to make it hard for us. Well, a suggestion. If you're not going to help us, get the hell out of the way, but we're going to do it. So if we can't get assistance from New York City, and we may have to double the number of agents we send in New York City, because we're going to do the job. We're going to do the job without you or with you.
Beautiful, isn't it? Yeah, we don't care. And this is what I'm saying. The Democrats lost. Trump ran on exactly what he's doing now. He wasn't secretive about it. He didn't lie about his agenda like Kamala Harris. He told the American people exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to deport illegal aliens. I'm going to do X, Y, Z. I'm against the woke agenda. I'm against transgenderism. I'm against, biological males competing against biological females. He ran on these things. And now he's appointing people to do it. And the left is having fits. They're trying to make it an issue and a controversy. But he already won an election telling people he was going to do it. And that's why we say he has a mandate from the American people. And that's why this time's different than 2016, 2017, when he was inaugurated. He's not hamstrung. The media and the Democrat Party don't have any power because he told you he was going to do this. He wasn't like Democrats who say they're not going to do something and then start to do it, who have to pretend to be moderate because they're radical communists. He told you that we voted for this. And that's what's so amazing about all this. Now, I just want to tell you a little bit real quick about recess appointments and what those are. But first, let me tell you about Native Path. Are you ready to move easily and independently without pain or stiffness holding you back? Discover Native Path Collagen. A collagen formula is scientifically backed to increase bone mineral density, accelerate tissue recovery, reduce wrinkles, enhance hair thickness, strengthen weaker damaged nails. Who wouldn't want more collagen with all those benefits? Native Path Collagen is a single ingredient formula with no fillers, additives, or artificial sweeteners. Plus, it's third-party tested for heavy metals, ensuring purity and safety. It's completely flavorless. It can be added to anything, smoothies, oatmeal, coffee, you name it. Its peptide formula makes it more bioavailable, which means it doesn't clump. It mixes perfectly. And the best part, they offer amazing bundle deals. You can get 3 or 6 packs, a fraction of the price of other brands. And right now, when you visit getnativepath.com/dailyclout, you can stock up on Native Path Collagen for up to an incredible 45% off today, plus free shipping. And it all comes with a 365-day money-back guarantee, so you can try it risk-free today. So visit getnativepath.com/dailyclout, and you can start your transformation today. Now, I just want to finish up here. We're almost out of time. But I want to explain recess appointments because they've been used a lot, and they are actually in the Constitution themselves. And it's a way to install certain officials without a Senate confirmation. So typically, if you didn't use a recess appointment, you have a debate in the Senate chamber about the qualifications of the candidate and so on and so forth. Think about the Supreme Court process, right? When you grill the Supreme Court justices and so on and so forth. So typically that's what would happen. But if, of course, if you don't have a majority, that's problematic. You can't get confirmations, whatever. So if Congress isn't in session, this allows the president to appoint them himself without having the Senate do so. And this is the recess appointments clause. Article 2, Section 2, Clause 3 of the Constitution. I'll just read it to you. The president shall have power to fill up all vacancies that may happen during the recess of the Senate by granting commissions which shall expire at the end of their next session. So, look, the Senate Majority Leader has to be on board. So John Thune, Senator Thune from South Dakota has to be on board with this because he's going to have to recess the Senate. And when they do that, they're basically saying, okay, we are going to abdicate our approval role. And just to give you context, the reason this exists is because, Congress didn't used to meet 12 months a year. They didn't meet every day conspiring to steal your liberty. Back in the old days, they only met about 12 months a year. 12. They only met 4 or 5 months a year, like 9 months, I think, total in 24 months. That's how much they met or how little they met. But Obama made 32 recess appointments. And he got in trouble, actually, and the Supreme Court had to intervene because Obama, who was the original dictator, right? The Democrats talk about dictator, this and that. Obama was the OG dictator in America. Because what you can do if you have the majority in the Senate, right, you can convene a pro forma session. And that's where, you don't, because in order for you to be permitted to get these recess appointments, the Senate has to be out of session for more than 10 days. So you can have these pro forma sessions where you come in and you gavel in and say, okay, we're here. And you don't really have to do anything, but it starts the clock over again, right? So the Republicans were doing that in 2012 under Obama to stop it, and he was appointing them anyway. So anyway, just remember that. But Bill Clinton made 139 recess appointments. George W. Bush, made 171 recess appointments. So, this exists. And we're not going to sit here and cater to the left anymore because what they want is antithetical to what we want and what's good for the country. We're not playing this game anymore where we're all polite and everything. No, we have power and we're going to use it just like you do. And we're going to use it to destroy the Democrat Party for the good of the country. And that's why this is so amazing. Trump's going after all this. The Department of Education, which is a slush fund, not a Ponzi scheme, but it's it's a money laundering operation for the left. Teachers pay dues, and those dues go straight into the coffers of the Democrat Party so they can run for re-election. That's what's going on in the schools. Teachers unions, all the unions, really. So anyway, but I just thought you should know that. You've got Lee Zeldin at the EPA. That's going to be amazing. They're going to roll back all this Green New Deal crap. We're going to have energy independence again. You're going to be able to afford your energy costs again. It's going to be a beautiful time in America. And the only thing that's going to stand in the way of us and our success and survival and thriving again in the future is going to be RINOs in the Republican Party. So in the future, we do have to focus on this. In the midterms, we have to clean house. And these people need to fear us. They need to know that we're paying attention. We need to know that they need to know they're going to be primaried if they do anything funny. Okay. I do want to tell you to do one thing for me. Dr. Naomi Wolf, who runs Daily Clout, who's brilliant in her own right, very famous as well. Many of you know her, of course. She spent a lot of work on this Pfizer Papers book, and this is going to be instrumental. And I really encourage you to get it and read it now, because this administration is promising to go after the pharmaceutical companies, led by RFK Jr. This whole MAGA, Make America Healthy Again movement. And you can get the Pfizer Papers book on Amazon. And she got all of these doctors, like thousands of them, to go through these documents, because we were able to get the Pfizer Papers themselves, which is why this book is called the Pfizer Papers, and look at their studies and to see with our own eyes what they did and how they deceived the American people. So all these experts came in and they explained exactly how Pfizer did this to the American people. And, the studies that they knew that they were doing damage to women's fertility. I mean, it's shocking, but it's one of those books that is really historical because it captures what was done, and we shouldn't let that go. There needs to be punishment for what they did. But anyway, it's an analysis of the Pfizer clinical trial documents, and you can get it on Amazon, the Pfizer paper. So check that out. This is Drew Allen. It's been great being back with you. Honestly, I love being with you. And I really thank you for your support. We've grown a lot of eyeballs have been on this, and I hope that you will, share this podcast with your friends, let people know, go to the Rumble page, the Drew Allen Show on Daily Clout, and, follow the page. I think we're up to, over 1,000 right now. But anyway, I'm just appreciative of you. Together, we're going to continue to fight for the country. We're going to continue to remain informed, and we're going to hold people accountable. So God bless you all. This is your Millennial Minister of Truth. Until next time.